Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Woohoo, party! I see. It looks like Google's going and changing
Hello
some of the
everyone,
Hangout
welcome
Meet
back to
stuff here.
the RationalInvestor.com's
Looks
Daily
like we're on
Brief.
YouTube
Woohoo.
live, so that's encouraging. We got the OBS thing running away here, so good morning, everybody. I think we got our head on straight. I suppose I can turn my camera off. I don't know whether this is actually updating anymore. It's always fun to watch Sjord's sort of the humming and hawing, backfilling little sort of teases and stuff to get going. But it looks like the breadth data is back on pause. God, he's such a tease, eh? So hopefully we can get this thing producing information we can use on a daily basis. But developer cycle 2 years now. Wow, what a crazy life this is, running this website. Anyway, it is Friday morning, 15th of November. It is options expiry. We had some David's T options that died on us here today, or will at the end of today. So sometimes options expiry can be a pain in the butt, but nonetheless, we talked, maybe we ought to go look at some of that options data just to see what's in the temperament of the market. But I think, if anything, this is a really good analogy that you got to be careful interpreting too much on the call side. Because remember, and I've said this repeatedly, and next Thursday, I might get a challenge, somebody on the site, because Julian doesn't seem to listen to me. But can somebody maybe remind Julian next week when he does his options pin conversation that it's the put options that we need to concentrate on? So really, it doesn't surprise me to see the stock market up. We've talked recently about these cycles, and we did shift into a bull cycle there, wherever the hell it is. Yeah. Middle of the month, in hindsight, it's always 2020. But it looks like the dump, of course, was at the beginning of October. I was looking for some sort of cycle pivot low, mid-cycle, and then, ironically enough, this part of the cycle right into early December should be an up market. So, ironically enough, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do right now. And I look at things like the Dow. I think I talked to you guys about this the other day. But just playing connect the dots, boom, boom, boom. And then if we do AB equals CDs off of that really weird candle that we saw there a few weeks ago, it actually projects an AB equals CD right up into that line. So my hunch is Dow wants to reach for like 28,000 here. We're starting to get little sort of warning signs that the smaller cap stocks were unhappy. M's up at the top end of the range, etc. I do really like this channel study. And you notice how we came right back to the channel and fought like the dickens here, and we actually gapped higher here this morning. So I think the scuttlebutt, you read the rags, talking heads are always trying to figure out a reason for stuff happening. The econs today came out relatively tepid. Nothing to really get too excited about. Did hear people talking about retail sales were feeling a little bit more robust. And of course, that's going to portend for this Christmas season coming up, what's going to sort of be the appetite for consumers. So here we are, Friday, November 15th, and we scroll down to some of the econs, and you see retail sales came in 0.3% higher. So all of the sort of retail related names in the market should be doing well. Also noticed, and actually I even tweeted it out, but I did notice it was a bit of a sort of shill, maybe even borderline advertising rather than actually usable information. But I think, if you can, try and, especially if you have kids in your life, just turn around and ask them, well, what do you want for Christmas? What what's hot? What are all the kids in the playground talking about? Beanie Babies? Are they hot? Are they making a comeback? And, it might be worth your while, right? And I kind of was doing this earlier, but I didn't really see too much usable information. But since, the consumer's feeling relatively positive, that number basically came in okay. And you remember from Jamie's presentation that we're just waiting for the consumer sort of, shoe to fall, if you will. It doesn't appear that from the retail perspective, it's coming in negative. Manufacturing, that's definitely the problem. But, is this more of a structural conversation? The United States of America is trying to move away from being a manufacturing base. They're outsourcing all the manufacturing, and they want to be more sort of information technology, and of course with the baby boomers aging, services, that kind of stuff. So, sadly for, a politician, they're going to use this sort of manufacturing data as, make our country great again, bring manufacturing jobs back. But, I think the writing's been on the wall for, probably better part of 10, 15 years that the United States of America is moving away from being a manufacturer of goods and more of, like that next generation information technology, services, software, that kind of stuff. So, on balance, it shouldn't surprise us. We're seeing, industrial production and capacity utilization, those kind of numbers soft. And if anything, the irony about all that is that actually gives the market some wiggle room if things like consumers still feeling pretty strong. So, I don't see anything here that's actually going to start, sending up red flags that we've got to worry. And so, big surprise, stock market's jumping higher here today. Up about 150 or so, sitting at 27,926. And like we said, could we see 28,500 on the Dow? Sure. 600 points here now on a big stock index like this, just a hop, skip, and a jumping away. So that's sort of what I'm seeing in the broader market. Me personally, it seems when I look at my list, I've got one problem here. One of my recent stink bids against a double bottom here has failed, and I really should walk away from this trade. But on balance, I'm seeing a lot of bright spots. Nothing really to get too excited about, but, our pharma names, they continue to just press higher. So things like Teva and this silly KPTI they just keep pressing. So not really in a big hurry to do anything there. I'm not quite sure if I'm going in the right direction on this this daily brief. Before we go any further there, we should probably just back up a little bit. So, with the stocks going absolutely parabolic here now, it seems, and really I don't see any reason why we can't hit those upside objectives on things like the Dow. I like to put the words on here where they are, where I get up, and then I shift them when I do this daily brief. So stocks have continued to surge higher. Oil just won't break down here. Now we're making more W's. So, both of these proxies in our risk on, risk off, risk on model here seem to be in complete agreement, and Bitcoin's still disconnected here. And interesting, I think actually, as we've been going through the morning, excuse me, Bitcoin's firmed up here a little bit. But, we'll talk more about Bitcoin in a bit. And as for the risk off, gold's pulling back here a little bit. Well, maybe we should just take a quick boo. Well, bonds are pulling back and yen's actually coming off a good chunk. The problem I have with the yen is that there really is no sort of base here. This is potentially megaphone, so this yen could just be all over the place here. But when we look at those charts in earnest, there's that crazy ass yen did come up against this trend line and failed. So, and I kind of mentioned that in that free broadcast I did yesterday for the YouTubers, that we could very easily see some failure around this trend line. So not really a shock. Gold literally ran up, smacked up against 38.2, and was politely told to get its butt back down. Interestingly enough, with the yen down as much as it is, with the gold off here a bit, I'm actually a little surprised that the bonds are as strong as they are. I guess when I look at these econs, the bond guys, they're going to be absolutely obsessed with this kind of stuff. What is the inflation pressures? That's deflationary. Industrial production year over year, that's deflationary. Manufacturing, that's deflationary. So, interestingly enough, from the bond market perspective, they kind of like what they're seeing here. So, as like I said just a moment ago, we're not really seeing a whole hell of a lot of pullback on the bonds. But on balance, I think the theme is risk on still seems to be carrying the day. Of course, we've got this fun stuff happening today. The econs have come out. They've done their damage. Fed's on the sidelines. Earnings reports are basically done, so we're back into this kind of crazy soap opera. I did post this on the lounge, but if you want to watch this through the morning, I don't know if I have the right room open, but there it is. And I mean, it was kind of weird how basically about an hour, probably about an hour and a half ago, they all took off and said, all right, we'll be back later on. And now they're just coming back now. So I was kind of wanted to watch the frivolity, wanted to watch the fireworks, but there was nothing going on there. So, I suppose later on through the morning here, if you are interested, you can tune into that. And as we've sort of said all along here, and Kevin and I were even kind of joking about it here this morning. The Democrats really are betting the farm on this. And ironically enough, I might make the argument that if they don't find the smoking gun, then they might just have absolutely sunk themselves for this upcoming election. Keep in mind, it's next year, right? If they can't find a smoking gun, then this guy's going to sit there on the pulpit and go, you see, I still need to drain the swamp. We spent 4 years coming after me, and they found absolutely nothing, and I am the man, and send me back to Washington to keep draining the swamp so we can stop this shit from happening. That kind of talk. I know it's coming. It just feels it. It's weird how this thing's almost like writing itself. The narrative is writing itself. So, the market itself doesn't seem to be even the slightest bit interested in that. And I was listening to this and sort of reading reports and stuff, and they got nothing. So it's a lot of this quid pro quo, sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but no real smoking gun. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so back to our little talk about risk on, risk off. I'm actually a little surprised that the stocks that we have aren't doing better, for lack of a better term. We do have some nice outperformance from the pharmas. I notice those shipping stocks are still generally pretty weak. I do like some of the pharmas that have backed themselves up into reload zones. If you are at all interested in participating in this part of the market, posted this in the lounge. I mean, maybe don't pull the trigger here. Maybe you wait for like a inside bar, W, fractal, whatever. But we're back down into areas where if you wanted to participate in this name, that's guys sitting there waiting for us. Um, and I actually a few of our names that we have on the books, I just noticed that they're just sort of sitting here. They're almost waiting for permission to move another leg higher. So like the Centrelink, would like to see follow through if stock market is as strong as it is. I don't see any reason why that can't happen. And things like Sonos, it's the same thing. I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. Same sort of logic. If this stock market is as strong as it is, and these guys' products are selling as well as they are, and actually Jonas is on the call. I'd be curious to see whether you have any interest in a product like this, and whether you've heard of any sort of fervor around IKEA about these products. But at one point through the summer, we were talking about how these things were really hot sellers. No idea. Okay, well that makes that easy. Thanks, bud. And one area of the market that unfortunately was probably one of these kind of unicorn kind of concepts was the pot stocks. And anything that's sort of pot stock related is just getting absolutely destroyed in this market. I mean, what are you supposed to think if you see the market smiling at you? That's one big ass smile. The irony of it all is, I suppose all of us gnarly technician dudes are probably in dudettes, beg your pardon. I know we have one dudette in the call here. Don't want you to feel alienated. Miss Volume Profile. I suppose we could argue where is the... And the cool part about it is you guys have all gotten such a great lesson through crypto over the past couple of years. This shit happens all the time in the market. The irony of it all is, back in these days, we go boobity boop, boobity boop. You're probably going to hear a reoccurring theme here. So, really shouldn't surprise us where the smart money, of course, is long a name like this. So there's the bottom. Interestingly, this thing gapped violently higher through all of this. So you kind of should be looking at these charts going, well, that level needs filling in. That level needs filling in. That level needs filling in. And I mean, you can go the whole way up. It's just gap central. So just even if we look at this original range, and ironically enough, there is the double bottom. In fact, actually, I think it's even there. There is the level to be long this asset. $2.19. And we're just now starting to come back down into these levels. Isn't that incredible? Seriously, learn this, guys. I mean, I want to change your lives. I want you to be able to see this for the rest of your life. And when people in the public talk to you about, hey, I'm interested in these kind of stocks or cryptocurrencies, up in here you got to go, maybe call me when it comes back down into here. So cliche. For whatever it's worth, I was getting interested in maybe thinking about taking long shots if this thing could W here. But what a pretty MA. Up, down, up, and then look at this battle. Bang, 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 and see you later. So, really, I don't think there's anything for us to do in pot stock land right now. And it kind of feels like that story was one of those summer unicorns. Kind of like Beyond Meat. Colleen, are you eating any Beyond Meat these days? I know you were a really big fan of this stuff, right? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think the whole Beyond Meat kind of thing was for lack of a better word, it was like Beanie Babies. I was so unimpressed, I didn't even bother even trying to sample it. I was like, no thanks, that's not for me. But I get the impression everybody went out and just tried one. right? And, you know, I mean, 300 million people, if you just try one, well, that can equate to a lot of sales in the short term. So, I mean, I don't even follow it, but let's see what this thing looks like. Probably looks a lot like pot stocks right now. Boom. Yeah, there's just nothing to get excited about there. They taste great. Oh, well, Jonas likes them. That's good. Question is, now, the biggest question I would have is IKEA going to go and get rid of their Swedish meatballs they have at their cafeteria and substitute in Beyond Meat balls? And Jonas, his response is, no way, capital letters. That ain't never gonna happen. That's funny. Anyway, I've been thinking about you recently, Jonas. I was talking a little bit before the Daily Brief got going. I'm very proud of people like you. I mean, hopefully you didn't blow your account up. I can't comment on that. But, you know, Jonas actually came to the site right through the insanity of the top. And I'm just so pleased. I was looking down through the people on the Daily Brief this morning, and I was even thinking about him in particular, and I was just, you know, worried that a lot of people that came into this space, they just didn't make it. And it's sad, it's depressing. I mean, I take this shit, even though it's not even my money, and of course I am trying to be a bit of a mentor for you guys and demonstrator of best practices and stuff. So, you know, watching new people to trading, floundering, and, you know, when they blow themselves up, I feel it too. You know, so just an FYI there. But anyway, something with regard to Beyond Meat, you know, there is this gap at the low, but, you know, so what? I mean, there's nothing, no W's. Probably all the internals look like poop too. Well, actually, it's not so bad, but nothing really for a guy like me to get interested in. I want to see those weekly W's. All right, so we talked a little bit about stock market. Suppose we should take a boo just at the gold. You know, I like to follow the biggest gold stock around, American Barrick. It used to be Newmont, but Barrick took over the number one recently. Really interesting battleground here. You know, probably you guys have heard us talk about trend line breaks, W's on other sides of trend lines. So I think you can actually see the potential bottom forming here. I say potential because that's all it is right now. This move to a new low here on this bar just back on the, the 12th. Dead cat bounce. It's able to break through the trend line. Pull back day to day, which I think is realistic. And now the question is, what are we going to get on the other side of this trend line? If we W out here nice and politely, I think the biggest gold stock in the world is telling you that the correction in gold is done. It's still a big if, though. I don't think we have any conclusive message from the market here just yet. If I look at the gold and silver stocks themselves, very sloppy bottom. You know, ideally, you know, if this was a B, C, D, we would have preferred to have just a nice polite bottom like that. So big jump, left a gap, up day to day. Well, that's encouraging. There is a gap to the upside here, but this doesn't look like it's setting up very politely for me here. So big hurry up and do nothing there on the golds. But I'm getting more interested. You know, one stock in particular that we've been following on the site for quite a while. This Alio Gold, you can see big reload zone ranges, small reload zone ranges, little inside bar. We do have a bit of momentum divergence here. I don't like the fact that this is lower than these lows. This might just roll back over an M out. Nothing really staggering out of momentum, price momentum. If anything, what I think you probably had here was just the market had just gone too far one directional. But of course, I'm going to be watching this 87 level to see whether we can get a nice big fat weekly W to come in there. And you can see she's down a little bit on the day with the rest of the gold sector. So keep an eye on that. And then silver stocks. I'm a fan of this Great Panther. God, I remember people in my old... I used to have a lot of this stock on the books back in the day. Back... yeah. I remember, I think this was they graduated from the venture exchange to the big board. So actually all through here, this is actually where I left the brokerage business. And all through here we used to play GPR a lot. You know, kind of like that one stock we were looking at earlier, you know, there is the double bottom. So let's see where we are now in reference to that. Wow, look at that. I mean, here, guys, learn this shit. Oh, my goodness. Look how we came right down to that level and put in that polite bottom there. So, you know, horizontal support and resistance for the win. All that kind of combo. My hunch is probably, too, if we zoom in on this area, there's probably some nice gaps down here. Yep, I can already see them jumping out at me. Technically, this gap has not been filled in yet there, so that one's still open. And look at this cheeky little one right down here. Whoops. What did I just do? There we go. Right there. So, well, looks fairly clean. Yeah. So, let's see what those look like. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. You know, certainly not enough to get too excited on the buy side. Really nasty OBV div there. My hunch is that, now keep in mind, this stock itself is having some problems. So I don't know whether it's totally reflective of the entire silver stock space. If you're going to invest in silver stocks, you're probably best to concentrate on like the big names, and there is no bigger name in the silver space than First Majestic. Maybe we could have bots set up here, you know, if you are a silver bull, and you know, we are out of that really dangerous window from the end of the summer into the early fall. Did do 33% correction there, so that is valid. And if we draw bot levels, there we go. Oh, what a coincidence. And you see how the market is really respecting this level there. I got one low, got two lows. It's a bit sloppy up there. But, you know, if the silver can get going here, I could see $16 a share. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, I don't know whether it's a trade that I would be too interested in. You know, Brian, I'm a cheap ass. You know, it's there. That's the way I'll put it. And also, too, what I noticed is, look at all these gaps up here, right? You know, this reminds me of that North American palladium stock that I traded back in the summer. So all of these gaps really should be filled in at some point. Boom, 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 boom. And there's another one there. But let's see if these gaps happen to line up with those AB equals CD objectives. Survey says, oh, hello. Isn't that cool? You can see all those gaps are just all clustered all around that bot target level. So, you know, actually, I hate to say it, but actually probably the last thing that I would do here is just simply say, do we have LJs? Boom, boom, something like that. Excuse me. All right, so 1, 2, 3. All right, we got the break of the trend line. Now, can I please have some sort of W? Nothing's really setting up here. This gap looks interesting down here. So, you know, maybe keep a close eye if we can get any kind of WE action over here. I think we might keep an eye on that one. So that's a silver name for you to chew on. What else should we look at here in stock market? Nothing really too exciting on any of these. Jeez. Oriented strand board still banging up against the top end of his range, but nothing really to get excited about there. Oh man, these silly crypto stocks just can't buy a friend, eh? Look at Novogratz. Novogratz still probing lower. Probably a really good example of gaps. Again, you notice this cheeky little gap over here. So that's sitting at 105. I don't see any reason why that can't go there. Let's take a look at HUD. Let's see. 47, 39, 82. HUD. Sorry. Got all excited there. Man, some of you guys must go, this Beamish guy's such a weirdo. Oh well, just having fun. Hey, that's tough. You know, the problem here with the profile is, why does the profile look so empty down here? Something does not look right. So yeah, something's missing from this, it seems. I wonder, this might only be taking the data from when it did list on the TSX exchange, and it's not including this data. So I'd be a little careful with things like profile. But it is interesting if we just even look at this profile from here. Let's say that's the top end of the range, and of course the POC is somewhere right in the middle here, right? Is that the POC there? And then, this area of the profile could use some exploration. I don't know where the middle of that profile is, but like I said, this I got a funny feeling this data is not correct on the volume profile. But you saw Galaxy, Novogratz, meh. You saw HUT. I mean, there is no buy signal there. Kind of stuck in no man's land. What's another one we'd like to follow? Riot. Anything happening over here? Yeah. I mean, you could definitely say like trade location. Remember, I tried to take a long shot on this guy and got stopped out. No W's yet. So I don't think there's a big hurry here. And of course, we're on our lows, down 8 cents on the day. Somebody did have a crypto stock that they mentioned yesterday. Who was that? What was that? I mean, I know I have my little VCIM stocks, and I think a lot of them look really interesting down in these areas. But somebody had mentioned a crypto stock. Yeah, I don't think that was it. I do think it's in our best interest to keep an eye on these guys, though. Well, 1574, he's doing pretty good, eh? Only 2 days of data? What's up with that? This thing's been around for a few days, hasn't it? Sooner it's been around for a week or two. Well, I guess the first trading there was the 7th of November. Excuse me. Not a bad bottom there, eh? I mean, we're sort of letting this thing breathe here. I don't think you really have any structure to work with. But at least now you can start doing things like drawing reload zones. So if you did want to buy this thing, it seems to me that gap there is significant. And that gap is there. So, you know, somewhere an interesting oh, geez, there's a gap all the way down to the bottom here too, eh? So, you know, maybe let this thing empire out or fractal or whatever it has to do, and then start working some stink bids down at the bottom end of the range. But good to see that at least Wall Street likes this idea. That's encouraging. What the hell was that damn crypto stock somebody mentioned yesterday? Damn, can't remember. If anybody can remember off the top of their head what that stock was, I wouldn't mind keeping an eye on it out of the corner of my eye. There's just nothing really that's too significant to talk about here off of this list right at present. Okay, so what the hell? Let's head on over to crypto. Bitcoin tastes great. Conversation I've been having on the free YouTube pages, and hopefully with you guys. I really don't like this trade location. It's like I think I had an image out for you guys the other day that I think summarizes this pretty nicely. Question is, which chart is it off of? Yeah, right here. So, as I see it right now, I do start seeing like higher time frame, like weekly reload zones. And I'm seeing daily time frame, daily reload zones starting to line up. I do often really like it when I can get overlapping daily and weekly reload zones, which we definitely have now. I'm curious how this is going to behave if we actually do start rallying. Now that this reload zone up top is kind of disconnected from this one down below. I don't know what that tells me right now. I'm still thinking about that. But as we stand right now here, we're in a very dangerous place to really make any big bets. M's are M's are M's. If we change this to a line chart, hopefully everybody sort of sees the structural fail here. And we often talk, especially level oneers who are first learning this stuff. And I remember that was $1.25 billion worth of Bitcoin hit the bid there. And they just collapsed the market, confirming these M's. And I might even argue this dead cat bounce rally here actually was the sort of window for all the institutional people to short this M. I was putting out earlier today, and I do understand, there's some people on the site that when I mention this gentleman, it just makes them cringe. This guy? I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's a history that you have with this gentleman. Maybe he fucked you over on a deal. I don't know. I'm not really touting him, this Crypto Chico guy, but I think he's a very articulate gentleman. And I think, we had one, I think she's in the level 3 program yesterday. Sent me this video and said, "Hey Brian, just check out what he's saying here, and what do you think? Is there any value in it?" I mean, at the end of the day, you have to make your own decisions. I do hear a lot of people say, "Well, Brian, whatever you say, that's really important. So don't you go and say stupid things, right?" Excuse me. If you're listening to Brian is, all right. So actually that was an interesting comment somebody just posted in the Hangout here. Peter said, "I verified data from this video yesterday and Chico made some errors. However, the general message I definitely noteworthy. I wrote a long text yesterday." Oh yeah? Posted in this little hangout here? Or was that in... Oh, shitty. Well, it's gone now. Did anybody cut and paste Peter's message? Maybe post that kind of stuff in the lounge. I don't know. Maybe even just DM me it or, put it in a Word document or whatever the popular word processor was. Oh, it's in the lounge? Okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you for the time and effort. And this is the whole 1 + 1 = 3 around here at TRI. I'm not going to sit here and go, you have to listen to this guy, right? That's not Brian. Ironically enough, what I really want to have happen here is you all become like independent thinkers on your own. I will be the first one to admit that sometimes I make really dumb mistakes. So I really don't like the label of, whatever you say, Brian, that's what people are going to, because I know sometimes I'm a total fucking loser. So, I mean, it's not on purpose. It's in my DNA. It seems that every once in a while I have these brain fucks that just derail me. I'm not going to paint myself as some sort of perfect mentor trader, dude. I'm far from it. But at the same time, too, also, just because I say, I'm interested in what this guy has to say, you can listen to him. But, if he doesn't resonate with you, then fine. I'm not ramming it down your throat, but, the basic message that I heard from this gentleman yesterday was, on the initial, first and foremost, I think everybody in this space must acknowledge the fact that this CME event, really, no offense, but it took an asset that I believe was trading at relatively fair valuations. Where are we here? Into the 20,000 peak. And I remember day in, day out, we were on the site. Goldman Sachs literally walked this entire market up. And I remember specifically through here. And that's sort of like, that's even like mid 2017. Ironically enough, maybe this isn't the best chart to show you, but I think this was the initial ETF rejection by the SEC, which was like $1,200-$1,300. I mean, and you guys need to respect this for going forward in your life. But is that kind of move in like, regulators come out on March and say, no, this thing is not ready for prime time at like $1,200, and then within 6 months the goddamn thing's $20,000, and this was all around that CME event. And the worst part about it is it would have been so much better off in this space if we had just sort of slowly stair-stepped our way higher, a nice healthy bull trend. Just like kind of like what we had here, just slow stair step. Instead of this fucking nutso insanity. And it's too bad, because I really do believe that this fucking is over. We knew, $1,000, $2,000. A lot of people were perfectly happy with those kind of numbers on Bitcoin. And then, in 6 months, fucking all hell breaks loose. And then, of course, all the public comes in and BitConnect and all that kind of nonsense. And we have to spend, like a few years washing all this out. So, the sad part about it is I remember everybody in crypto was like, CME, oh, CME, CME, CME. And yeah, the market did rally into that event, but that was the end of the move, not the beginning. Also, too, remember we had this funny conversation through last year, and it's so funny. Because in essence, Bitcoin right now, even now 8,000-9,000, we were spent a lot of time. This was February, dump into $5,000-$6,000 against these lows, and that was Giancarlo, CFTC chairman, coming out and saying, "Oh, don't shit on Bitcoin. It's not so bad." Blah blah blah. And we sort of sat there about 5,000-6,000, and then there was the sort of the final capitulation dump that just knocked it in half. And I got a sneaky suspicion same sort of thing is happening here. So a big rally up, hit Mountain Man, consolidate. You can see the battle around 9,000 here. And, what would half of 9,000 be? Gee whiz, 4,500. Right against our 4-year moving average. Bring it back down against the original double bottom. Obviously, significant reload zone levels. I don't like the smell of this here at all, one bit. One thing also, too, that kind of bugs me here is, And I think I mentioned this the other day, right? Ethereum's trend line off of the bottom, smacked right down against it. And you can see the battle going on right now at that trend line. Litecoin rally off the bottom. I mean, these are pretty damn substantial rallies. $33 up to $150. That's a 5x. Did Bitcoin 5x through that? 3,000 up to 1,300. Pretty close, but not as big of a percentage move. Litecoin comes right back down to its trend line. And in reload zones. If we do the same logic on Bitcoin, well, there is that trend line. And what a coincidence. That 4-year moving average, the weekly 200 SMA, is just sitting right on that trend line. So, also too, the sort of aside on this guy again, it was interesting, sort of one of his last comments was, think Bitcoin, or maybe it might have even been a video that was put out after this, but he's like, I'm seeing Bitcoin down into the end of the year, but I absolutely love Bitcoin in 2020. So, like Andrew, right? We got to get our fucking act together here. Are you still here, Andrew? Or are you gone? Oh, isn't that interesting? Is anybody still here? Oh, there you are. Yeah, Andrew. We got to get moving on this, right? Andrew's my partner here. Yeah, there's two Andrews, but this Andrew knows what we're talking about. Because I think, for whatever it's worth, it's just Brian's opinion. All right, everybody's got an opinion, so fucking what. But I think that we're going to get some sort of capitulation dump here. And I think that actually sets up the buying window for the Halvening event rally. For whatever size that ultimately is, yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, so we look at the internals. Bitcoin dominance is perking up here a little bit. You can see that the altcoins have kind of lost a bit of steam here. Remember, we looked at Ethereum and Litecoin and stuff, and they don't really look too happy. On balance, I think the whole space seems to be moving fairly closely in unison. And you see very similar price behavior now. So it almost feels like it's like not one is really leading over the others. I suppose white line here is Bitcoin, orange is Litecoin, and yellow is Ethereum. So I did have a bit of sort of Bitcoin outperformance. You can see Bitcoin sort of come back in on Ethereum. And I guess Litecoin is still underperforming. But, what letters of the alphabet do you see here? Does anybody see any letters? All right. Thank you, Peter. Oh, look at that. Peter even put together a nice little fact check on Crypto Chico Crypto's backed video. Colleen says, does anyone know how to adjust the sound on Google Hangouts? I turned my computer speakers way down to no effect. Maybe I'm just too big of a loudmouth, Colleen. Sorry. I'll try and speak a little softer. Is that a little better? What do you think? Are we okay? Can you hear me at all now? Oh, she's not even in the Hangout. She bailed. All right. Anyway, I'm just being silly. All right, back to our story. I saw Peter's note there in the lounge, so if you're interested, check out Peter's note there. And I know there was one person in particular that was kind of like, Brian, I kind of like what you're saying, but you mentioned this Chico Crypto guy, and I hate that guy, so fuck you, I'm out of here. So, whatever I say about outside people and stuff like that, just take it with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to ram it down your throat. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing and what I think. That's about it. All right, so continuing our conversation here about the corn. I got to tell you, spreads here. I saw this image this morning here. That didn't fill me with a lot of confidence. Got Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum on OKCoin forwards. I still have the big question of the relevance of OKCoin in this kind of market state now. I don't know. And OKCoin EX or whatever they want to call themselves. And I see there's just a ton of people trying to get in on this forwards business. I think Binance just recently announced they were going to be doing a whole bunch. Oh, goodness. So Joshua's suggesting be careful with Impossible Burgers may not be safe to eat. Oh boy. Thanks, Joshua. All right. And it's weird that we're in that kind of full circle kind of world now, eh? You guys notice that? People are like, vaping, it's the best thing. There's no smoke, no smell, right? And now we're seeing that people are dropping dead right, left, and center because of vaping all over North America now. Oh, something went wrong there. And of course, I quit smoking and did the vaping thing, so I'm sitting here going, great, now what have I done to myself? And now, Beyond Meat, maybe it's better not to eat meat, and we find out that the substitute for not eating meat might even be worse than eating meat. Go figure. Okay, let's continue on with our story here. Short term, this would be sort of more, I think I've given you the message of this at a higher time frame. It just looks like a train wreck right now. Investors, like I said, this is no man's land. You investors, just cool your jets. Get your nanny nibbles working if you are an investor. Reload zones, bottom of ranges, sprinkle those bids. This is a horrible place for investors to even think about doing anything. Okay, got that dealt with. And actually, I was even surprised some people were saying that they're short off the top here and they're just riding those shorts. So congratulations to you guys on that. Swing traders, sort of our next level of trader. Where's the best place to show you that one? Not there. All right, so swing traders, things like trend continuation conversations. I suppose off of this range, we are now starting to come down into reload zones. But you notice that we lost 66% here this morning. Right, if I put on 66%. Where is 66%? Maybe I don't even have it on here. Well, I guess we'll just do it here. 0.66. Oh, I gotta click it though. Oh, isn't that weird? Okay, what is it I'm doing wrong? Oh, that's what it is. All right. So we lost 66% this morning just on that dump. And other exchanges, it looks a little bit bigger. So as a result, trend continuation trades, AB equals CDs, that kind of conversation's off the table for me now. Kind of like what we saw with the lower time frames yesterday, I'm getting the feeling we're in a trading range right now. Which I suppose, if we can W out here through reload zones, we start seeing momentum divergence signals, we could maybe think about counter trend rallies back up to, $10,000 area. I don't think that's outlandish. I did put on here, however, and of course this was a new low, right? So really there's nothing for us to do on the long side now. But I did throw on this chart. I have 3 different AB equals CDs all working away down here now. I have 2 of them on here, this one and this one. And you can see both of these AB equals CDs. This is off of Coinbase, 8304, 8200. And I even put out a tweet to that effect here this morning. I just simply said, I mean, we'll get to the lower time frames in a bit, so don't really be too concerned about this chart right now. But I said, since the loss of key support at 9,000 a week ago, we've gone into what I would consider slow grind mode. And slow grind mode is dangerous because usually markets have to finish a move with a big orgy of either buying or selling. So as long as we keep doing this back and forth but keep making lower lows and lower highs, then that means at some point down the road to finish this move there's got to be some horrendous face rib. So I did notice, like I said in this tweet, massive wicks and tails off the lower time frame means to me they're washing weak hands here. So be careful, and in all the public videos and stuff like that, I said, this is not the place for you and the public to even be thinking about trading this shit. We have some very good advanced traders on the site, who I'm very proud of, that can manage their behavior and have very specific setups, and they're very disciplined in their actions. They can trade these kind of markets, but I would say for like 90% of you guys, this is an extremely dangerous kind of market to try and trade. So please heed that warning. Now, if we think about sort of objectives, like I said, 4 hours, I've got some AB equals CDs working about, we're at 8,500 and change right now, 8,400, so at least a good couple $100 lower than where we are now. I'm still worried about this look left kind of thinking. Notice that this is all open air here. So, why would the market stop here? If it starts coming into here, where was the last time key support was? Well, it was all the way down against these key lows here. Also, too, if we look at the profile, does this profile look full or does it look maybe a bit empty? Seems to me we could very easily spend some time doing some business in there. As well, right? I think there's pretty good odds that we're probably going to have to spend some time in that level as well. And notice that is the original breakdown level. Remember on that tweet I had said, since we lost this key low at 9,000, my bullish enthusiasm has been greatly tempered. And as long as we keep making lower highs and lower lows, gotta just temper that bullish enthusiasm. And because we've gone beyond 66% of this range, now things like bullish bot setups and stuff, they're just completely off the table. So be careful in here, please, everyone. I think that probably takes me to sort of our next conversation. Actually, there's a couple things I want to mention here. Make a note of this. Really, really powerful trading information that it took me forever to learn this stuff. And nobody ever taught it. I had to just watch it day in, day out. Just keep watching. And, oh, gee whiz. When this seems to happen, that seems to happen. So, interestingly enough, I would actually make the argument these big wicks and tails actually define a trading range. And if we, had accepted above these highs, then really, think parking garage, level 3ers, you're going to be doing the DOM fairly soon. And that whole idea of floors and ceilings on the DOM and the way price naturally wants to move. Again, think parking garage. I would actually say that the very simple price objective is just simply a replication of this range on whichever side it accepts above or below. So this is sort of the probe. Do we accept below here? No, we're not ready. And notice, of course, it rallies right back up into the top of the range, comes back down, and bang! I would call that accepting below those lows. Kabosh! So ironically enough, and I mean, like I said, you want to take a screenshot of this? This is invaluable information, people. It really is. Stunningly valuable. This would be kind of like that market symmetry module that I got to get off my ass and finish. But I'll throw that in there in the lounge if you want it. But in essence, this range here, if we have indeed accepted below, says that we really need to go down to this 8,200 area, which is just in essence just a replication of this range. And then the tweet that I put out this morning, and what do you think, guys? Is this kind of choppy behavior? Did a lot of people get sucked into the long side through this double bottom and reload zones and then just get absolutely bitch slapped? I mean, it happens. It was interesting that on that failure, I was with Liam yesterday, and I had commented in the lounge when I came back, holy crap, what a setup. This is difficult. Again, now, remember I'd said just a few minutes ago, this kind of market state with these nutso, insano wicks and tails and shit, this is not amateur trading hour. Amateur traders are getting absolutely destroyed through this market, I can guarantee you. And I noticed crypto Twitter, like I put out a tweet saying when this level failed, my longs, I'm gone. And smart asses and stuff come back and say, oh yeah, well, I'm just getting ready to buy. Well, fuck you. They just got destroyed. And I noticed that the smart-ass crypto Twitter guys, they're all sort of disappearing. And I think, like getting back to Crypto Chico or whatever the hell his name is, my hunch is that this is just yet another effort by sort of the 1% to get on top of this thing called Bitcoin and crush it into the ground. Because you guys know trade location, hopefully you guys didn't get sucked into getting too euphorically bullish way up here. In fact, actually, we were right near a shorting location. So, ironically enough, hopefully you guys look at this market like all the other professionals and go, you know what, you're absolutely right. This is a horrible place to be buying Bitcoins. What the fuck are you doing? If you want to buy Bitcoins, buy them down here. And, the irony of it all is they may even be trying to get the price down here so that they can be buyers where they're supposed to be buyers. So, I don't know whether, it's a conspiracy to destroy Bitcoin or whether it's just, these guys look at this market and go, gee whiz, there's a big M there. Maybe we should be short. And they're using BACT to basically facilitate that short. Do you guys, am I just talking to myself? Do you guys see the connection here? Is it really a conversation about the higher ups really want to destroy Bitcoin, or the higher ups actually know how to trade? And they know that this is a terrible place to be a buyer of Bitcoins. And they also know that M's are generally bearish. So they're shorting the fuck out of this thing. Does that make sense? I think it does. So, is the conversation all about conspiracy, and this guy, of course, is out to destroy Bitcoin, or these guys just are pro-traders? I don't know. That's sort of a little different. Yeah, well, I think, ironically enough, I think that we've been waiting forever for these damn options to come. And I believe, kind of like Andrew and Shane and I want to get serious about getting Deribit going. I actually believe that once all these options markets and derivatives markets get fully vetted out, and we're not talking like forwards markets where the exchange themselves can be on the other side of the transaction and they're just fucking you over. That's a con. I hope you all understand that. These forwards contracts, they are unregulated. They lead, somebody should take them to court and say you're not allowed to use the term future because you're not a future, but they still keep doing it. And I would argue that exchange cleared options, in my opinion, I think are actually going to take a lot of the volatility out of this market. we'll see what happens. Now, just because the volatility comes out of the market, that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't money to be made. I mean, look at the goddamn stock market. Is there any money to be made on the long side here? I mean, let's call a spade a spade. If you had went, we had that goddamn signal there at the beginning of October. If you had just gone and loaded up on a shitload of highly leveraged call options, how would you be feeling today? I'd say you'd be feeling pretty good. I don't know. Call me crazy. But let's go look at the volatility index. Oh, gee whiz, the volatility index is right down the bottom end of the range. So, like I said, I think that the options actually will take a lot of the volatility in Bitcoin out of the price. So, I can't wait. Been waiting 2 fucking years for these goddamn options. Excuse my French. Okay, so, I just, it's already 11 after 10? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I talked way too much here today. I didn't even realize it was past the top of the hour. Oh, darn. I do have to get off and teach a class here today, guys. I'm sorry. I never even got to, Jesus, how did I get so derailed? Oh, well. Okay, so just to try and wrap this up, because, like I said, I do have to get going here. Maybe this is the one. Yeah, so here is the 3 AB equals CDs. You can see one of the AB equals CDs was hit. They're in the process of hitting the other 2. My hunch is just let these get hit. I really think that's in your best interest. And frankly speaking, I wouldn't be surprised if the floor just fell out of this thing, because I don't see any support here whatsoever. Congratulations to those people that were able to get short. Like I said, Julian was short off the top here. Congrats. Way to go. Lots of choppy to try and get the weekends, the kids out of the market as they take this thing down. And I don't think there's any huge hurry to go and bet the farm here. One thing I'll just finish off this broadcast with is don't lose sight of these crazy altcoins. I noticed that Kevin's SIS here. I mean, this is basically everything that we teach in the education programs. What do you think? Were those half-decent fills down there, down in reload zones? So don't lose focus. I think there's still some great opportunities within the altcoin space. You just have to be patient and disciplined, build a plan, execute on the plan. And reload zones are a lot of fun. And you can see, I mean, this is a great example. When we dumped into here, I didn't know what was going to happen. If we blew through these lows, okay, I'll walk away. But we didn't, and we're turning our way back up again. So, on that note, I really like this UBIC. I don't know why. Call me crazy. But interesting, kind of like Bitcoin. Notice how this guy had to come all the way right back down to the original bottom there. And now we're going through the process of trying to W out. Be interesting to see whether this thing can actually W. So keep an eye on him. And Mona, really like Mona in here. Keep an eye on Mona. This Wabi, sitting great location. This Algorand, I went and bought a little bit off this W. Got another bid down at reload zones. So I'm just sitting there nice and patiently waiting. So I am active in the altcoin space, which I haven't been in a long time. So that in itself has got to be a bit of a tell. I'm actually nibbling. All right, I'm actually putting some money into the market here. So go figure. Okay, so like I said, talked way too much. Got to get going here. Got class. Kevin and I have to go and do a daily brief video recap here. So I'm going to call it at that right now. So have yourselves a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Of course, I will see all the, the level tours here in about 45 minutes. Hopefully we'll see, take advantage of the lounge. Great information being passed around. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to give me a shout. I'll be more than happy to try and help you. We've got a whole bunch of positive people on the site. Take advantage of them while you can. And let's all just work together to try and go find those W's. All right, have yourselves a great day. All the best, everybody, and bye for now.